Would you pray with me, please? Dear Heavenly Father, as we gather here tonight as members of the City Council, we seek your guidance and your wisdom. Grant us the strength to make decisions that benefit our community and its residents. May our deliberations be filled with understanding, compassion, and a shared commitment to the well-being of all. We ask for your blessings upon this meeting and upon our city. It's in your name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. I remember to turn it on. Just remember, folks, that I have to do this every meeting. Rules of decorum are in effect. Basically, it means show each other respect and be adults. Don't make snide comments to each other. Just be respectful. That's all we ask. All right. First thing up, these are the fun things that I enjoy doing. There's a lot of stress involved with being on a city council at any position here. But there's a lot of good things we get to do too. So the first thing we get to do is a proclamation. So, Miss Mindy, if you'd like to come up. All right. Tony, you're first up on citizens' comments, sir.
My name's Tony Crawford, 104 Lavender Place here in McLendon, and trust me when this is not personal. It's done with fatherly love, and but I felt I needed to address some things according to our water issues. We continue to see water issues affecting our city. Solutions are being sought, which by human nature are causing division amongst our citizens and this governing body. As a citizen who is relying on the council to make decisions regarding our health, safety, and well-being, I have a few thoughts on what we are faced with. I also can make these observations due to my being a part of the water committee for the last year. One, we are faced with a few more years of water issues. This could have been avoided if RCH Board's request from McLendon-Chisholm to take over water operations was addressed and completed a year ago. Instead, it appears the RCH Board is pushing a private company to be the provider of our water. This company has issues of their own in providing service, so just read the online reviews. At the least, this company cannot be a direct customer of the North Texas Municipal Water District. I can only think that this is being pushed on us for profit reasons. Promises of customers being able to share in the profits are being made. That in itself is questionable. Two, the current RCH board has been in power for too many years and failing at every turn to lead in the growth of RCH. They also have failed at maintaining a safe and viable water utility. No regular testing, inoperable fire hydrants, and audits not being provided to us as customers. Meeting laws and rules have not been followed. Therefore, we vote to approve or deny having Aqua as our provider. If the membership votes no, then it has been stated by the RCH board president that Plan B will be to keep the current board in place, the same board that has failed us at every turn. Three, the unwillingness of the RCH board to work with the city of McLendon-Chisholm has delayed our ability to resolve these issues. Selling to a profit company that answers to a board of directors in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania is not the solution. Four, an audit was provided at the September 5th, 2023 RCH board meeting. This really wasn't an audit because it appears the RCH board failed in its fiduciary responsibilities when they did not secure financial records when H2O abruptly quit. Five, the only viable and common sense solutions to our water issues are being provided by the city of McLendon-Chisholm. A plan is in place and work is being done. I've been a part of it. Six, having responsibility for a utility will assist in allowing the city to have more control of our growth. The comprehensive plan is everything to making McLendon-Chisholm a unique and livable community. On May 24th of this year, a motion was put forth and approved by this council that Mayor Pro Tem Balcom and Mr. Hildebrandt and the mayor would be the official contacts regarding our water issues. I listen to a lot of social media, or look at a lot of social media, much to my wife's chagrin. Please get on board and honor that. Read the material. If you have questions or concerns, ask one of them on the board that have been appointed by the mayor to handle this stuff, or ask one of the people on the water committee. I'll be glad to talk to you anytime. A lot of memes are being quoted on social media regarding leadership. I have led and I have led. One thing I've learned is the leader is most respected when they get in the trenches and do the work alongside those they are leading. Don't think for 1 second that this is a good idea for this current issue to be used as a re-election campaign. I've talked to plenty of citizens who know who is doing the work, and they also know who is being the road bumps to a solution. We need to resolve this, and we need to resolve it now. I have been honored to be a part of the most common sense solution, and that is for the city to have control and responsibility of the RCH system. I'm asking the city council to look at the facts and resolve to work with the city and the water committee who are in what we're advocating. Stop wasting our valuable time. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Bev Stibbins, and I live at 279 Partridge Drive in McLendon-Chisholm. I am here to speak on item 8.1, which is the Ridge Point Estates subdivision. I'm not here to speak for or against, although I would like to thank the developer for coming forward with nothing smaller than a 1-acre lot that matches the comp plan. Larger lots would have been nice, but they at least went with the minimum. I am here to caution you on water. I know in the past, if a developer got a will serve letter from the company, from the water provider, it was okay to go. You know the situation we're in the other half of this city. Mr. Crawford spoke to it very well. I would caution you highly on the number of meters High Point is allowed to issue and what these 83 may do to that going forward with everything else that is on their plate. Thank you.
The name is Michael Osher, 14893 South FM 548, Rockwall, Texas. And I'm here to talk again about the Lake Point project. I've talked with several of y'all on it before. But my concerns are for the groundwater control over that project. I went down and spent some time going over the numbers, and out of that 2.7 acres, 1.8 of that acre is concrete or metal. So all the water runs straight off. There is no absorption. And it all comes down to my land. And on the original plan, which I approved, or I voted yes on, or I thought it was a good plan. It was done by Dub. The detention pond was at the lower elevation of 514. The top of the retaining wall was at 519. It's a 5-foot detention wall that holds back water. What they're building now out there is a detention wall starting at the top of the detention wall is at 514, which is the bottom of the original plan. So now they're going down, digging down so they'll have enough acreage to hold back the water once it starts flowing. But so that's why I have concerns over this. Although the drainage now is pointing toward my lot, whereas before Dub had everything flowing into the detention, well, just about everything flowing into the detention pond and have controlled outflow. Now it's just kind of flowing all my way with, in my opinion, a detention pond that will not be adequate. And so I do have these concerns. That's why I'm here. And that's why I was asking for the plans or the numbers or the criteria sheets that would explain and outline exactly what was going to happen. Dub had his submitted years ago. This thing's been going on for years. And that looked like a good plan to me. What I've been asking for, I'm sure it's out there, but it has not been shared with me. I just want to see where they're going with it. And another reason I'm up here is I went down to the county and asked for their plans on the on-site sewer facility, and that's pretty pathetic. I mean, I know you don't want to know about it, but I mean, they're just listing anything and everything and not really directing in detail anything at all. And the main thing I was concerned with is that on that application, on a 12,000 square foot retail building, they're saying that there is no public restrooms. So this is 12,000 square feet of retail, knows what's going to be in there. And they're saying there are no public restrooms. We know that's not going to happen. But it keeps their numbers down so they can, in my opinion, keep their numbers down so they can make the lot work. They're trying to put a size 13 project into a size 10 plot. And that's why I'm here. I have to say it. If I didn't, it'd bother me the rest of my life. But I thank you. Okay, I'd be glad to. But Deb knows all that, I'm sure. Thank you.
6.1, consider approval of the minutes of the August 22nd city council meeting. Before I entertain a motion on that, Mr. McNeil was not present at that time, so he won't be voting on that one. So, all right, I'll consider a motion.
A motion to approve the minutes of the August 22nd, 2023 city council meeting for August 22nd, 23.
All right, I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, if there's no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Show that unanimous. All right, we'll move on to 7.1. Public hearing to consider an application requesting approval of a zoning district change from agricultural zoning district that provides for a lot size of 2 1/2 acres to a planned development district, Ridge Point Estates, for the development of a residential subdivision containing a 99.544 acre tract of land, Rockwall CAD PID number 10767, for the development of 83 single-family residential lots with a minimum lot size of 1 acre of land. The property is located generally across FM 550 from the McLendon-Chisholm City Hall that is located at 1371 West FM 550, McLendon-Chisholm, Texas. Public hearing will be held here at City Hall, 1371 West FM 550, McLendon-Chisholm, Texas. The time is 6:48. We'll have the public hearing open on that one. Bev, I know you just spoke on that. Do you have? Okay. Anyone else that wants to speak on that particular one? If you'll do me a favor, when you come up, the mic's already on, just name and address, please. And I'm sorry.
Yes, now it's very loud. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Todd Winters. I'm with Engineering Concepts. I represent the owner of the project that you just mentioned across the street here. So we do have almost 100 acres, 99 point something, 0.5 there. We have 83 1 acre single family lots that we'd like to develop there. We've submitted engineering plans, site plans, everything through the city. We've been through several of these meetings. I know you guys have seen this before. If you can see the track, it does drain to the east. We have 2 detention ponds at both both discharge points that are leaving the site so that we can control that flow. We do have 2 points of access out here on the highway. We will have a traffic impact studies, and we will have left turn lanes for the protected turns that go into those. And I know water's a big issue. We have met with High Point Water Supply on several occasions. They have performed a study for this. We will be tying into the 12-inch water line that they have that comes right out to City Hall here. So we don't have any issues there either. So, but with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Mr. Winters, can you provide the documentation that shows not only a will serve letter, but basically the capacity that there is enough water to be able to for that particular development?
So I have talked to their engineer, Tyler Henderson, with Velvet and Wicks in Athens. I don't know.
Which water supply company?
High Point, sorry, High Point.
Just so everybody understands,
I mentioned that.
Contention about water, we just want to make
Yes,
sure.
sir. And so he is actually evaluating this entire area. And he had promised me he would have that report to me before this meeting tonight. But he worked on it over the weekend. We sent him some more files yesterday. But he has assured me that we have enough for this development. But he is looking at this entire area. We've had discussions about a site for a water tower, which would solve all of his problems in this area. And so I do expect that to be in his report. And as soon as I get that, I will forward that to the city. So, and I'm sure I'll have it this week.
Okay. So
And not just for our project, but for this entire area, because I know that's a big question. So.
That will be wonderful. Brian, do you have any questions?
Yeah, Mike, I was also considering what Adrian just addressed was the capacity for water other than just a will serve letter. I think it's appropriate for us to be informed to that point. I'm looking at your concept design and the layout. Is this this can't be your final layout plans for your concept?
I'm not sure which one you're looking at there, but
Yeah.
it has 2 points of access. One, the
2 points of
western
access. Let me describe it a little bit. Just 2 points of access, basically parallel lines and horizontal lines to connect streets. And that's pretty much it.
Yes, sir. The western access point will eventually connect into phase 3 of Heritage, which will go all the way to Pullen Road. That's on your thoroughfare map, and it's actually a little bit wider right of way and a little bit wider paving. And the streets that run east and west, that's mainly just for drainage because the drainage goes in that direction.
Okay.
Assuming that that's north and we're looking.
I just wanted something to be a little bit more of, I think they describe it as serpentines. Had you considered any kind of
At one time, we did
variations
have
in
more of
street
a,
design?
at one time, we had the collector tying in right here at City Hall, and that wasn't very well received by the city, so we moved it over so that there's not a lot of traffic coming right here by City Hall. So at one time, we did have a more serpentine collector there, but it didn't work out, so.
Okay. That's all the questions I have.
Okay, thank you. I'll be happy to answer any more questions if it come up.
So, this has been brought up, and maybe it would be good for you to answer in regard to the distance between the road and the actual M550. It's so close. Is there any concern that TxDOT, whenever they do the study for the expansion to 4-lane, is there any concern that there's not enough space between the road and where the boundary of the houses are?
That spacing is based on the speed limit, and I think based on the speed limit that's out there, that spacing is 450 feet, and we meet that requirement. We also took into account any future driveways that are planned here from not just the fire department that exists, but the other ones for the proposed development on the south side as well. So we have, and that study will actually be comprehensive to handle all of those driveways. So I don't believe it'll be an issue. I do believe there'll probably be a decel lane at the collector that goes out and a left turn lane coming from the west, but not until the 4 lanes are there.
So was there a discussion at some point to have a traffic light or some sort of light for our fire department, or has there
That has not been yet, no. At some point it will warrant that, but it does not yet.
Okay. And when do you suggest, or when do you recommend that would be warranted? Is whenever you have half the houses done, or?
So our traffic study will say that it's probably, when it's based on turning movements and how many cars are going through, and I don't have that information yet. But
and I'm not going to say this with 100% accuracy, but anytime stop signs or signal lights are put in, there are certain formulas that TxDOT goes by based on the amount, and it's everything from the amount of traffic to the amount of accidents.
That's correct.
That all that information is gathered together and a formula is used to determine when that happens, whether it's a stop sign or a stoplight. And I'll just leave it at that, because being that I've worked wrecks, sometimes we look at it and go, why isn't there a stop sign or a street or a stoplight here? And well, we have a formula and it doesn't meet the parameters yet. So there's formulas used for that, and I can't answer. That's a TxDOT question as to how much that takes before they kick it off to that degree. And I think
But to answer your question, at some point there will be one there, but it will be sometime in the distant future.
Thank you. I just have to ask that because, again, there's other people that are listening.
Absolutely.
Okay, is there a recommendation from planning and zoning on this particular item?
This is a public hearing. We haven't got to the agenda item yet.
I know, but has there been any discussion from P&Z recommendations?
For the zone change, it was a unanimous recommendation for approval.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. If there's nobody else that wants to go get up there, Bev, I'm good with that. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, Bev Stibbins again. Councilman Tucker brought up a very good point, and I'll admit I had not looked at the drawing. This is directly across the street from the area the comp plan calls Heritage Center, correct?
Yes, being that, I guess.
This
we
is
call that like a
Heritage
park or
Center,
something.
right.
Yes.
That subdivision over there is straight streets with square blocks, no character, nothing to enhance the Heritage Center of the comp plan. So as part of the comp plan committee, I'd like to see a little more character.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Thank you, Bev. There's no other, yes, ma'am. If you would like to speak, all you do is come up, turn the mic on, name and your address, and then whatever your comments are. There you go.
Is it on? Excuse me. My name is Nancy Jones. I live at 47 Fireside Drive. And I'm sort of new to all of this. I guess I'm under the impression that our city council is here to serve those of us who live here. And I'm sure all of you get out and drive as much or more than I do. And the traffic is horrendous trying to get into town. And if we just keep allowing more and more development before they widen 205, we're really in trouble. I mean, it must be hard to even sell a house here right now because the traffic is so bad. So we have a water problem, we have a traffic problem. I've talked to so many people who are very concerned about the traffic. And they say, how can we keep building more and more? And I know developers like to develop, but we also have some rights. And I think our right is that we're here and we're waiting for 205 to widen. And then it'll be a different situation. It'll be a reason for making these decisions. But right now, I think it's just overload. It's too much. So I wish that you would consider that, because I think the city council has to think, what are we going to do to serve the people who live here? I'm not trying to just keep all development out, but I think it needs to wait till the state finally widens our roads. So that's what I have to say. On behalf of them.
Thank you. All right, if there's not any other comments on that one, I'm going to go ahead and close that particular public hearing. It is 6:59, 7.1 public hearings closed. It is 6:59, we'll open up 7.2, which is public hearing to receive comments regarding levying and ad valorem taxes for the tax year 2023 at the rate of 0.0096578 cents per $100 assessed valuation on all taxable property within the corporate limits of the city of McLendon-Chisholm as of January 1st, 2024, the said tax rate having a maintenance and operations component and a debt service component. Public hearing's now open. Does anybody have any comments? If we do, come up to the podium, name, address, and whatever your comment is. I feel like an auctioneer now. Going once, going twice. Okay, that public hearing's closed. All right, moving on to 8.1. Consideration and action regarding approval of a zoning district change from the agricultural zoning district that provides for lot size 2 1/2 acres to a planned development district, which is Ridge Point Estate, for the development of a residential subdivision containing a 99.544 acre tract of land, which is Rockwall Cad PID 10767, for the development of 83 single-family residential lots with a minimum lot size of 1 acre of land. The property is located generally across FM 550 from the McLendon-Chisholm City Hall. All right, Conrad?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This is This item has gone through the Planning Commission and met all the requirements needed to make it in front of you today. The Planning Commission approved this item with a unanimous recommendation for approval for the council, and again, it's asking for approval for a zone change from the current agricultural zoning district to a planned development district, and that's what's before you today.
Were there any special things tied to it? It was just a straight approval?
Just as what you have in your packet.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion on that one. Going once? Going twice? All right, there's no motion on approval of the zoning change. So that kills that one, correct?
We just move on.
Okay. No action on that one. Move on to 8.2. Consideration and action regarding approval and adopting a budget for the fiscal year October 1, 2023 and ending September 30th, 2024, providing that expenditures for said fiscal year shall be made in accordance with said budget, appropriating and setting aside the necessary funds out of the general and other revenues for said year for the maintenance and operation of the various departments and for various activities and improvements of the city. Conrad?
Okay, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. It's exciting to be here tonight to reach this item. And exciting to announce that our finance director is here, Mr. King Smith, or Ray Smith. I was speaking Spanish there. Anyway, Mr. Smith is here, and he's been very instrumental in this. He will be speaking, if you want, on this item, but also on 8.3 specifically about the tax rate and the adoption of that tax rate and what that means. So let's go over this. We've gone over this before and gone through this entire booklet that you all have in front of you, or you've brought with you, or you have electronically. And I have a reduced discussion from the prior time, but some of the salient points, I think. One of the main things that we are looking for tonight are approval of the final budget by ordinance and a roll call vote. And then in 8.3, adoption of the tax rate by ordinance and a roll call vote. And that tax rate needs to be approved in cumulative at the 0.96, as the mayor stated earlier, but also broken down into the maintenance operation and the interest and sinking fund. Or the debt service fund, or the debt service amount when you're making those motions. In the budget that you have before you, in all the funds, generally all the line items are pretty much the exact same as prior years. You'll notice that it may have gone up, but a lot of them have gone down in amount, based on pretty much historical use of current year's funding, and all those have been previously approved. But you'll also find on page 57 of your book, if you want to turn with me to that page, we'll start with that. On that page, you'll find the citywide requests, and we've talked specifically about those, but I wanted to go through those again on the far right column of it says approved request, approved in the fact that they are included in the balanced budget that you have before you, and those are a cybersecurity upgrade with 2 new computers, as well as every computer in the city being upgraded for some cybersecurity measures, which is a major issue. These days, in all types of cities, nobody's immune from this malware and the outside people trying to get into our information. That increase is a $34,339 increase. That includes those computers and the upgrade for everyone's computer hardware and software. It also includes 3 new firefighters and their personal protective equipment at $236,700. It includes a City Hall deep clean of the carpets, which I don't know if you've ever cleaned the carpets, but they're ready. And then a vent fan super vac at the fire department for $5,400. An on-call part-time administration assistant. That's approximately 22 hours per week. That would fill in the times that our current front desk person, who is also a part-time person, this person will work, well, our current one works till 2 o'clock Monday through Thursday. This will pick up between 2 and 5 to provide continuous service, and on Fridays. So it would create out of 2 of them, one full-time, an FTE, our full-time equivalent position, and that being on call. So approximately 22 hours a week is what we have budgeted there. The inclusion and adoption of an overall step and range salary plan, and the request to unfreeze the planning and management analyst position. You'll see below that, the one, or also on that page, the ones that have not been approved for this current that were requested by city staff. So that's from that page on page 57. I also gave you a 1-page summary so you could follow along with that if you so desire. On page 58, the following page, you also see a sort of a boilerplate for COVID money. If we talked about that last city council meeting, the city originally received $861,293, and of that, the council has approved $154,000 for impact fee studies and implementation, which are ongoing right now. So currently, the available funds are $707,293, and we decided that since it's a boilerplate, there's no numbers in here for you to vote on, but something that you need to think of based on the fact that we need to identify how we're going to spend that money before potentially somebody in the federal government decides that they want to recollect it and bring it back. Don't think that's going to happen, but it's there, and they're asking us to spend it, at least encumber it, and we have a little bit longer to spend it. So that's what that is. On page 60, number 7 on your document, you'll see the aforementioned step plan for our fire department, and as well as the pay range for administration. You'll note under there that the proposed amounts to initiate this step plan and this pay plan ranges are identified in red. And so that's something that we feel real strongly about on just trying to keep morale. I mean, most, if not all, cities and entities have a range or a range plan, a salary plan, or a step plan. A lot of the public safety, it's a high percentage of public safety, police and fire, go by a step plan, so we tried to be consistent with that with our public safety or fire people. As mentioned before, the only in the development of this plan, the year 1 numbers were based on a salary study done in 2021. So it's still below where our Pick Six, our fellow cities around us and others. So it's a couple years old, the salary plan. But from, like, if you look at the step plan, year one is from those numbers from the 2021 salary review, and then it just goes up 3%. The step plan is 3%. So the only new numbers is that first step one, and then it's a 3% increase. And it's the same thing, except for the city administrator and the administrative assistant on the salary range plan. Those were consistent with, well, the administrative assistant was consistent, and those are requesting, as you see in red, the 5% COLA. So that's sort of an overview of that salary plan on page 60. And now number 8 on this form is between page 25 and 54. And if you quickly go to page 25 of your budget, or not quickly, you can go at your own speed. You'll see at the very top, the very first line item is the estimated beginning cash reserves. Those are the unrestricted fund balance amounts that are estimated for the start of this FY24 fiscal year. You'll notice general fund is the first column, goes public safety fund, debt service fund, ARPA is the COVID fund, and you'll notice that the ARPA is a little bit different than what I stated. It's based on what's currently spent out of that impact fee. We haven't spent it all because it's not done. So that number's a little bit different than what I told you, the 707,000. But and then, so you know what we have right now in our unrestricted fund balance, and then on page 54, and you may want to keep a finger in 25 so you remember, but on page 54, it's talking about 53 and 54. It talks about the ordinance that the city council approved in 2021 on a fund balance strategy. And it goes through all the different funds, but on page 54, it talks about the capital projects fund balance and the unassigned, unrestricted general fund balance. What the council, out of that ordinance, decided that they want to maintain the general fund balance between 40 and 60%. And that is consistent with what is around, and maybe even at a little bit higher, but it's a savings. So I don't know what's too high, but that's what the council has decided. And we have a projected, you'll see the last line on that page, of approximately a $3 million total budget in our general fund. And with that $3 million, 60%, or the high of what the council said they wanted to keep in, is 1.8 million. So what we propose, which is not in here but would need to be included if the council is consistent with these thoughts, are to put 1 million into a capital reserve fund that we take out of the general fund balance and put it in a separate fund, and create a 1 million police funds, also a 1 million fire fund, and the remainder being roads and streets. Initially, we had $1 million for roads and streets, but we took out a certain amount to create 300,000, which is for this year's budget that you see in your general fund budget right now as you review it. And we took it from that fund, or that amount. I mean, it's out of the overall unrestricted because you don't have these made right now. But all that does, that capital projects funds, is start saying we're interested in this. It's not spending it. It's just a notation on a spreadsheet. But it gives the message that we're interested in these different areas, and we're saving up for future equipment purchase, future vehicles, future upkeep in the different funds from police, fire, and roads and streets. So can you go back, even though it's a restricted capital project? Well, you're the ones restricting it. So if you have something where you need to go and collect it, you have that ability to do it. So But it's just sending a message, and it's how we can start identifying and saving that, and then bringing our general fund budget back to what you approved in your ordinance of a couple of years ago. So that's what that is. The roads and streets would have 782,000 in it, and as I mentioned. The tax rate recommendation, we'd also like, and Mr. Smith may talk about some of this a little more detailed, but currently we have a subsidization of our property tax from our sales tax. And it's in this year, based on, I mean, you'd think, oh, we don't have a lot of sales tax. We don't. I mean, 99% of our sales tax leaks to other cities. So we're helping other cities build their parks, fix their roads, do other things, because we don't have the commercial activity here, or sales tax activity. But we still, the double whammy is, back in 2012, there was an election where the city decided to subsidize the property tax with a portion, 0.25% of the sales tax. And that equals to about $200,000 a year currently. As our sales tax levels go up, that number will go up because it's a quarter of the 2% that we're available to get. So what we'd like to do is, and it's not part of currently, it's just something to be on your radar. It's not in this budget at all, but it relates to the tax rate recommendations, is that in the not the November election, but the May election, that we potentially put this item to repeal or sunset that subsidization from sales tax, of sales tax to property tax, and put that 200,000 that's currently, approximately 200,000 that's currently given, or reduces our rate, our property tax rate, because it's subsidizing that and it comes out first, and identify that same money. Don't put it back in the general fund, but put it into a fund that you think is most important. We could put it into an economic development fund, a streets and roads fund, a parks and trails fund, a fire and police fund, different places, or we could, a hybrid of all that. So we could start having that money instead of giving a very minimal amount of subsidization of our residents if you spread it over everybody. And it wouldn't go away, it would just go to different identified areas. So that's the idea of that, but I wanted you to know as Mr. Smith talks about some of the rates and how the rates are developed and what they mean to us, that's something that we're definitely looking at and hopeful that it will come to be for the operations of the city. Last thing, on page 18, you've received this, and I'll stop after this and let the council discuss these things to approve the final budget. On page 18, you'll see a spreadsheet that shows at the very top the median household value of a house in McLendon-Chisholm. I don't know if you'll be surprised or not surprised. Our broker probably won't be surprised, but the median household value in the city currently is $631,000. Our median value. That may have taken a hit in the last few months or or whatever, but that's, to me, it was elevated a little bit. If you see the second column, the first column tells the activity, the second column talks about currently. You'll notice that our current tax rate is 0.107020. It's proposed that it drops to 0.096578, and of that 0.096578, the amount that goes into maintenance and operation, or the general fund, the general operating fund, would be the 0.075 of the property tax, 408, and the additional between 0.96 and 0.075 would be to pay our debt. And the one debt that we have remaining, about $1.5 million, is on this facility. Is the only debt that the city has. You take into effect the homestead taxable value, so you drop the 631 down to the homestead taxable value. And the thing that and the last two columns, I'll show you the county and the Rockwell ISD. You'll notice that the county's tax rate, ours is 0.09, so 9 cents per every dollar of property tax that people pay. The county is 29 cents for every dollar, and the ISD is 1.01, 92 for everyone. So what does that mean? That means annually, based on the median household value and the homestead rate, that residents that would have that median value would pay $512 to the city of property tax, of their whole property tax bill, and $1,551 would go to the county for all the services that they provide in our city, and the ISD would get $5,405. In percentages, that the school district out of the property tax, when people say, oh, I pay all this property tax, it's like, yeah, you're paying 72% of your property taxes going to the ISD, 21% is going to the county, and 6.9 plus 7% is going to the city. Breaking it down even more, I show you monthly and daily. Daily, people pay $1.40 for property tax in the city. They pay the county $4.25 and the ISD $14.81. So I wanted you to see, understand that, you know, our level is one of the lowest property tax rate levels anywhere in the state of Texas. And it's not, and there's pros and cons of that. There's great things, paying a lot less in our property tax overall, but there's also the fact that, and I wanted to show you that because I want people to say, well, my rates are pretty high. Well, not for the city, they aren't. The city has kept the rates very, very low and has gone lower and lower for a long time, but still very robust and relatively strong in our overall financials. So I know that's sort of talking about some of what Mr. Smith is going to talk about, but it ties right in, and for you to approve the tax rate, you first have to approve the budget. That's state law, and it seems like backwards that you'd first approve this, in my mind, that you approve the tax rate first because that's what's going to pay for the budget, but it's just the opposite. First, the state says you got to identify your budget, and then you do have a balanced budget here, and as I mentioned, and I mentioned to a couple of the council members that the public safety fund has $15,000. You'll note that is taken out of. I wanted to show that. Sorry, Chief. But generally, we would have, just to keep it balanced, is put that in the 1.3 that we move over the transfer to the public safety from the general fund for the fire, which is exactly what cities do everywhere. And then the other one is the $218,000 in the general fund, which I mentioned came out of potentially that $1 million and dropped it to the 700 if you want to create those capital reserve funds, and it's for road development to pop us back up to the 300,000 to better service our residents through maintaining our roads better. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mayor and Council, and for your discussion and hopefully your adoption of the FY24 budget.
Literally, there are times I'm like, I look at myself, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
Did you have any luck on getting that one thing washed?
Do what?
That one thing you were trying to get washed? Did you have any luck on it?
I filed a motion to call, so I'm not anything. But apparently they did that to like, I don't know, 5 or 6 different people. City of Rockwall, North Texas Municipal Water District, Republic Title of Texas. Like all these, I don't know why they were.
Yeah. What about the great jury?
I haven't heard anything. I mean, if the DA is going to do anything, they have to do it by Thursday. So, I don't know if we will do anything. I never heard anything about it. They haven't talked to me. The only reason I know about it is because you sent me the subpoena where they wanted documents.
I guess they didn't want to hear from us then. That's good, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
I guess. Now, can you get Miss Davis taken care of?
Yeah.
I got the deal from the TML to send everybody involved in Proclamation.
The subpoena?
Huh?
The subpoena?
Yeah, let's send this.
Send everybody a copy of what?
Of her, what she's doing. All the people who are named in her suit.
Oh, Rhonda.
Rhonda,
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
sorry,
Yeah, some of that stuff is way old too, and you know she couldn't even get an attorney to do it for her.
Oh well. What would we do if we didn't get served something every week?
One thing gets another.
I'm just glad my name wasn't. She's not mad at me right now.
I mean, that was from like a long. We hadn't heard from her in a year and a half.
But she wrote a real ugly letter to Gino Moore.
A long time ago, right?
I just stuck it in the corner and just told me to keep it.
Yeah. I don't remember. Like the last time I remember hearing about it, it's got to be a year and a half ago.
When we were doing her deal for
Yeah, I think I heard from her once since then. That was it.
Yeah. Oh well, she's bored.
I can't wait to figure out how she thinks it's worth $2.5 million.
Up to 5.
Yeah. At least 2.5 million.
Yeah. It's great.
All right, guys, it is 7:33. We're back in session. Thank you so much. We needed that bit of a break. Ray, do you have anything for us on the budget? Okay. Guys, just so you know, say a word from our guy. Chief, we got to hear from what we did last week.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Conrad did a great job, so I'm just here to add color to what he presented. And mainly, none of what I have to say are recommendations. They're for consideration. You know, when you build a budget, you got to first start off with, well, how much money are we going to have? And I think it's interesting to note that, you know, of course, still our property taxes are our highest source of revenue for the city. It's 30%. And then your building permits and fees and all of that come in close behind it, 26. But sales tax is sneaking up on it. It's 22%. And I had someone ask me, how can that be? There is no retail out here. It's online shopping. It's what's driving it. That's what's driving your sales tax growth.
I was going to say, much of us like to drink wine.
So, and then, you know, the outliers are your franchise revenue, which is the, you know, the fees for the rights of way and things like that. So that's where the revenue comes from. For the budget, what we recommended on the revenue is because of inflation, and we're seeing it. So we had recommended a decrease in your building permits and fees for 24, and I think that's going to be wise that's in there. And so revenues, you know, down for that. And we did recommend a decrease in the sales tax revenue. I'm not sure if people in Texas are feeling the inflation thing, but we thought shopping might drop. So, you know, there was a little bit of decline in the revenue there. You know, on the expenditure side, the main thing that moved there is from staff's recommendation to bring the salaries of its firefighters and staff to somewhere in the realm of where all of your sister cities are, because you're so far below where everybody else is. So that's the main expense driver there. You know, and Conrad did mention that, you know, it was a balanced budget. Technically, it is not, because in your general fund, to balance the budget, we're pulling in $218,000 from prior year surplus. And on the public safety budget, Jim has a reserve fund of about $400,000. So the small amount of capital expenditures that he requested, we're pulling from that reserve. On your debt service, the same thing. We're actually going to come into the year with about $22,000 in the bank. So we knew that when we were working on setting the property tax rate, so that we would have a lower debt component to take advantage of that surplus that was coming in. So that is how that things came together. Other than that, there were no major movements. You know, if you really were looking at what's going on, you know, in this black art world of setting the property tax, and we all know that that's really complex and nobody really understands it. But I'm sure you've noticed that every single year for the last 5 years, the rates have gone down out here. And you might be thinking, well, how why is that happening? Why are they not at least staying flat? Why are they going down? And it's because of that sales tax component, that sales tax subsidy is what's driving your rate down. When the rate is set, you start out with a rate that would generate no more property tax revenue than the prior year. So if your valuations go up, then in order for the property tax revenue to stay the same, then that component of the property tax rate has to go down. Valuations go up, rates go down, the revenue stays the same. And then you're allowed a 3.5% increase on that without getting into any type of election thing or something like that. Well, that formula is running at a slower rate than the subsidy from the sales tax growth. So that's what's driving your property tax rate down every year. And I know that no one likes to pay property tax, but again, it's like $1.50 a day out here. But this is the main point of consideration, okay? As the city gets built out, this super low rate is going to become an issue. So that's just for consideration. Once you get your footprint built out and there's no, you're sitting on maybe the second or third lowest rate in the entire state, and if there's no economic development, there's nothing to drive that, there'll be some real issues.
So I just want to interrupt real quick. I thank you for coming. Appreciate you as always. You've been very, very helpful with our budgets and budget season. So at some point, I kind of want to address about the 2% on the sales tax. I think we briefly talked about it, but I think at some point the city kind of needs to do some sort of, we need to really expound on that, because you're right. You know, things that we may consider in the future for an economic development district or some sort of economic development corporation, EDC, you know, usually that 2% usually goes to that, but I don't think that there's people that are not familiar with that process, and I understand briefly our city administrator Conrad mentioned about, you know, possibly having the item on the May election ballot, but before all that, I think that maybe we can sit down with you to kind of get really informed on the pros and cons of that. Is that something that you would like to do, or would you recommend us having to do another consultancy service to talk about
No,
that?
I can help you understand from 2 points what's going to happen to the rate over a long period of time. And then I can just share with you right now, you know, we work for other cities. A quarter of that 2% all goes to economic development. McLendon is the only one that subsidizes the property tax rate. So by and large, that quarter of that 2% that you have out here is going to economic development. You form an economic development corporation. It operates independent of the city council, and there's very strict things that an economic development corporation can do and can't do. But you're partners. You work hand in hand. So, you know, I wouldn't be your sole source of information on that, but I can certainly be part of the team to help you, you know, guide you down that path. The other big thing, too, that I wanted to commend Conrad for mentioning is about, you know, like we said, we're sitting on about $4.5 million in reserves, and people look at that and go, "Oh, that's an unbelievable amount of money." And I just want to point out to you how that is nothing. You have no repair replace reserves out here at all, but you own water lines, and there's no revenue component that comes in to pay for the maintenance on those water lines. So, you know, I just want to mention that repair replace reserves are a big deal, and you don't have any. So I just want to, again, I'm not recommending, I'm saying for consideration that I think it was a good idea that Conrad brought that up. That $4.5 million reserve is absolutely nothing. That could get wiped out in a heartbeat. So anyway, that's just you know, what I wanted to share, and thank you for the opportunity to help on the budget again this year. And if you have any specific questions, I'm here to answer those if I can.
I don't have any questions per se. I've had a lot of conversation with our city administrator on the definition of a balanced budget, and I've been vindicated by you, Ray, because I disagreed with the definitions that the cities used. They were only able to balance this budget, as you have said, by borrowing money from our reserve fund.
That's correct.
So technically, it is not a balanced budget, and I just don't like that term being propagated if, in fact, you know, it's not balanced. Now, by somebody else's reasoning, it may very well be.
Well, Councilman Tucker, let me say that that the budget is balanced by a transfer from prior year.
And I understand that. So I just want to say my two words on this point, and just it just feels good to be vindicated, as I said. So that's all I'm looking for. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you so much for working with us, and it's been a pleasure working with you. And also, I just want to thank you, Conrad, for putting in the effort and the time on this. I want to also thank Councilmember Tucker also for contributing your thoughts, and Mayor, thank you so much for what you've contributed to the budget and all that. I mean, it's a lot of work that goes into this, and it shows. And I just want to say thank you so much for your efforts. You've done an excellent job, and I really do appreciate the work that you've done. Thank you.
And one other, and he's not here because we had to leave out of here, is the fire chief.
Oh yes, and the fire chief. Mm-hmm.
Brian, well, then I'll entertain a motion on 8.2 because that's where we're at on approving and adopting the budget for the fiscal year.
I motion to approve and adopt a budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2023 and ending September 30th, 2024.
Okay, I've got a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, there's a couple of things I have that I want to make a comment on. And these are just highlights more than anything. The building permit income that we're getting currently is $607,500, or that's the estimate for the 2024 year. And I just want to make a point of the fact that that's come down significantly from the $1.1 million of 21-22. So it's something that we need to be cognizant of. Also, there hasn't been there's been minimal discussion regarding the COVID funds, and I understand that is not really part and parcel of the budget itself, but the proposal that was an addendum to the conversation here with the budget suggests that we contribute $500,000, and this is just up for conversation, I assume, for beautification of our 205-550 intersection in the future. And I'm on the county consortium, road consortium, and I will suggest that we have to dedicate those funds in a written form by December of 24, and they have to be spent by 26 December. I don't think we're going to be able to meet that in terms of the road being ready for that. So I think we're going to have to be looking at other investments down the way. So I know that's okay. I just wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And then the last point I wanted to make, and you know, this is one that isn't maybe so pleasant for me to have to say, is that last year we had a problem in my mind in that there wasn't sufficient discussion that went on that encompassed the whole city council. And this is pretty much replicated this year. I had full advantage of going to the city administrator, and I had access to the mayor for sure if I had questions. And certainly the city administrator helped me to no end in addressing some of the issues that I had. However, I think that we should have open conversation amongst all five of us in a work session kind of an event as we progress through this budget. I just spent maybe 20 hours of listening to the Commissioners Court and the open process that they followed with discussion, analysis, argument, and it was, for people like me, it was completely enjoyable to see the exercise in democracy. I think we need to have that here. And so I'll probably provide an agenda item requesting that for the future. I think we needed the debate. I think we needed an openness. I think the public needs to be aware of, you know, what we're looking at, the details of it, because it will generate, you know, a lot more involvement in the future. That's it.
I mean, he brings up a good point. I think that maybe we can have like a set schedule, possibly like maybe 2 or 3 workshops during the summer, maybe something like that.
I'm thinking at the time that we're actually going through the budget itself would be appropriate. Maybe one prior to, but the council will dictate how many sessions we really need. I don't think we need to set, like, we need to have 3 or 4 or what have you. But prior to, but during the time that we're considering the budget, I think it would be an agenda item during that time. I think that's the appropriate time to do it. Because we're all burying ourselves in the budget, looking at it, analyzing it, and that's the time I want to talk to Jennifer, I want to talk to Adrian, I want to talk to Brian about what's going on, but I can't do that because of the walking quorum situation. And so if they're placed at an appropriate time, I'm fine with it. That's what I would like.
I'll just basically echo Councilman Tucker. He brings up some great points. I definitely would like to see a workshop where we can sit down and go over things a little bit better. I agree. I also don't think we need to just say it's going to take 3 or 4. I think that's something we can work through as we figure it out. But he's right on the money on that deal.
I already said my piece about it. So.
Mayor, I know you have a motion in a second, and I didn't remember if Mayor Pro Tem was approving the ordinance, which includes the budget.
Do I need to say it again? I'm so sorry.
And I'm not sure if you said that or not, but it needs to be approved by ordinance.
Okay. I made a motion to approve an ordinance of the City of McLendon-Chisholm, Texas, approving and adopting a budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2023 and ending September 30th, 2024, providing that expenditures for said fiscal year shall be made in accordance with said budget, appropriating and setting aside the necessary funds out of the general and other revenues for said fiscal year for the maintenance and operation of the various departments and for various activities and improvements of the city, providing a repealing clause, providing a severability clause, and providing an effective date.
All right. Is the motion still good on that? We just missed that legislative piece.
I second it.
Yeah, okay. Just making sure the second was still good, because we had to add that piece about the ordinance.
I second it.
If there's no other discussion, I'll do roll call vote. Mr. McGinn?
Aye.
Ms. Balkin?
Aye.
Ms. Hoffman?
Aye.
Mr. Tucker?
Aye.
I'm having a wonderful time tonight. I'm sorry, guys. All right, 8.3, consideration and action regarding levying and ad valorem taxes for the tax rate 2023 at the rate of 0.096578 cents per $100 assessed valuation on all taxable property within the corporate limits of the City of McLendon-Chisholm as of January 1st, 2024. The said tax rate having a maintenance and operating component and a debt service component. That again is under ordinance 2023-09. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the ordinance of the City of McLendon-Chisholm, Texas, levying and ad valorem taxes for the tax year 2023 at a rate of 0.096578 per $100 assessed valuation on all taxable property within the corporate limits of the City of McLendon-Chisholm as of January 1st, 2024. The said tax rate having a maintenance and operations component and a debt service component, providing for due and delinquent dates together with penalties and interest, providing a severability clause, providing a repealing clause, and providing an effective date.
All right, I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh.
Okay, I've got a second. Any discussion? This is just setting that 0.9 cent rate. If there's no discussion, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. McNeil?
Aye.
Ms. Balkin?
Aye.
Ms. Hoffman?
Aye.
Mr. Tucker?
Aye.
Show that unanimous. All right. The next thing, 8.4, River Rock Trails. This is a petition on the annexation of 641.873 acres.
Okay, Mayor and members of the council, this may seem eerily similar. You approved this with a lower acreage rate a few months ago. I believe it was like 297 acres for the River Rocks development. Then we changed we went from an ETJ of a half mile to a mile, which encompassed all the rest of it. So they're asking for annexation through resolution, which you have in your packet. They have petitioned that you increase that amount from the 297 to the 600 plus. Exactly what you did before, but annexing it into MUD number 2 is what I believe. It's not an annexation into the city or anything. It's just exactly what you did before. Just because we increased our ETJ amount, they're asking to include that amount of property in there.
It's just a cleanup, guys, because they didn't know when they went to the county that our ETJ had gone out to a mile. That's all it is. All right, so I'll entertain a motion.
We'll make a motion for approval by resolution for acceptance of the petition and approval of the resolution for annexation by River Rocks Trails Development, D.R. Horton, in RRT MUD number 2.
All right, I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? If not, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. McNeil?
Say aye.
Ms. Balkin?
Aye.
Ms. Hoffman?
Aye.
Mr. Tucker?
Aye.
Show that unanimous. All right. I'm gonna move one around for a minute. For 8.7, discussion and consider leave of absence of a council member at the city's regularly scheduled meetings pursuant to 22.04B. What I'm gonna say is it's 7:56. We're going to go into executive session on that one. So we're going to move to the back room. We'll be out in just a second, guys. We're not going to be very long. I'm sorry. That's why I have the attorney here. We're going to join into executive session in accordance with Texas Government Code 551.074, personnel matters that deliberate to the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, and or dismissal of a public officer or employee, discussing the leave of absence for a city council member. I'm glad I'm not really an auctioneer because I don't know that I can do that.
Okay. Oh, my tired.
I think it looks nice.
The executive session item was discuss and consider leave of absence for a council member at a city's for city's regular meetings pursuant to 22.041B. We have a council member that is not present tonight based on his work schedule and other things that he has assigned with that work. He's going to be missing a few council meetings. He'll be back the end of October for that council meeting, and he's trying to do the right thing. He's asking for leave of absence. For those of you that don't know, we don't get paid a dime for this. There's no stipends, no subsidy, no nothing. All our time up here is given of our own free will. We don't get paid for anything, not even gas. There are cities out there where council members are subsidized for, gas money, whatever, time, effort, whatever you want to call it. We do not. And he's trying to do the right thing. Some of us still have to have jobs to, enjoy our lifestyle. So he's trying to do the right thing, and that's what we went into executive session to discuss is that leave of absence. So I'll entertain.
I motion to approve the consideration of leave of absence for this council member at the city's regular meeting pursuant to 22.041B.
Okay, and a time frame of
October
27th, I believe, that last Friday of the month. Let me double check. Yes, October 27th. All right, I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Show that unanimous. All right, now we're going to bump it up. I'm going to go backwards. 8.6, discussion and action for bringing a sewer connection to all four corners, 550 and State Highway 205. That's down there in that corner where the Sonic is. If you guys don't know, it's that piece of trivia that I will give you that doesn't mean a lot. That's considered literally the dead center of our city. That corner, that intersection is literally geographically dead center of all of McLendon-Chisholm. What we're looking at is having the sewer connection brought to all four corners to make it easier and more attractive for the businesses that are starting to look at McLendon-Chisholm and looking at that 205 corridor. The other thing is it can help us with, if anybody's ever been to the Sonic, he has issues from, I don't want to say time to time, I don't want to say month to month, I don't want to say day to day, but he has times where there's issues with the septic there. This would make it more financially available for him to tap into a sewer line and not have to have these septic issues anymore. So that's what this discussion is going to be. I'll entertain, or actually, let's open discussion, Conrad, on this one.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. We've been working with our contract engineer, not Dub, but the TMP people, on getting a cost. You have in front of you it's not a detailed cost because their cost of engineering you see on there would be writing out, so it'd be ready to bid, contract ready for that. But they felt that the total cost that would be, it wouldn't go over that cost. So that's your cost that you're looking at over the top right corner. The rest of the pages are basically the 55,000 amount. But as the mayor stated, it's very attractive, and a lot of cities work with to try to recruit and entice commercial entities, especially if you're looking at specific types of businesses and stuff. This is very attractive to provide this type of an amenity where they could hook onto the sanitary sewer at a lower cost. So it's a positive thing, and Mayor Pro Tem talked about economic development, of bringing in the economic development that we want initially, and as well as we fill up the whole commercial sector.
Mm-hmm. And as you'll see, their preliminary cost is 405. I think it says 405, 800,000. So roughly 406,000 is the cost to bring it to all four corners. So I would propose that we look at using some of those funds that we have to bring it to all four corners, and then you know, we as a council come up with the help of our staff, to come up with a correct number for a tap-in fee on those at a later date, because the types of businesses that want to come to a city like ours, and the types of businesses that we would like to see for our customers or our citizens, the return on investment from those kind of businesses and or restaurants, whatever you want to use as a term, will pay for this cost over the long term, and continue to pay long after that. So, and what I would like to see is a motion not to exceed, I would say, just because you never know on cost overrun, not to exceed 450,000.
Okay. And we got the numbers today, right? This was
Yes,
today?
that's what this one that's written up in this corner is.
Yes, and you're proposing to use COVID funds?
Yes, the COVID funds.
Are you?
Because we have to use those before a certain date.
Sure.
And those can be used for this, if I understood correctly.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to make a motion to approve bringing the sewer connection to the four corners of FM 550 and South Highway 205, not to exceed 450,000.
405.
Do what?
450.
We're putting a cap on 450 on it.
Sorry.
Yeah. Just for that little bit of extra, just in case.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard me or not. I said 450 is the end cap.
Yeah. So I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Is there any other discussion on it?
No, I'm actually very happy to see this. I was a big proponent of it, of the previous sewer project that was done, though I had a lot of criticism about it. This is much more developed conceptually, and the fact that we have provisions for overrides, and they look pretty minimal, suggests that they'll come in under the $450,000. And I think we developed a formula for assessing cost for individuals that will be tapping into this. We had that previous with the other project, so that exists. I don't know if we're going to use that or not, but it's something to look at.
It's something to look at and maybe readdress, because I don't remember what those figures were, because we want to make sure we don't kill businesses with.
Understood. It was just a formula for each individual that was part of that.
But I agree with you.
Yeah.
We need to readdress that.
Otherwise, looks good.
Any other discussion? If not, I'll call for a roll call vote. Mr. McNeil?
Aye.
Ms. Baldwin?
Aye.
Mr. Bell?
Aye.
Conrad, on this particular item, would it be a future agenda item to maybe, because the issues we've seen with the Sonic gas station and their septic, once this is been facilitated to the four corners, is it something we could bring up as an agenda item or a request to them that they have to get on the sewer?
Absolutely. It's very common that cities create, I don't know if it's an ordinance or resolution, probably an ordinance.
But it's something we'd have to bring up as a separate agenda item later.
Yes, that anyone within a certain amount of feet must or shall hook on to a sanitary sewer system.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. All right. Now we'll move up to 8.5, update and discussion on citywide Water-related issues, I know that's what everybody's probably sitting here waiting on. So,
So I'm just keeping it simple with bullet points. RCH hosted another board meeting on Tuesday, September 5th at 4 p.m. at the Chisholm Baptist Church. Robert Lake of Rutherford Taylor produced a review of RCH's bank statements presented as an audit, which turned out to be an incomplete review of RCH financials. There were financial discrepancies, and they do not meet the definition of a not-for-profit. RCH president signed an agreement with Aqua Texas on July 19, 2023. This was discovered through a conversation I had with TCEQ mid-August regarding a TCU investigation that started back on June 26. The RCH president signed another agreement on August 22, 2023, which goes along the same process of the STM filing with the Public Utility Commission. On September 6, 2023, there was a special board meeting with High Point SUD where Conrad and I presented about the right-of-way ordinance. It went very well, and it will go on their next regular scheduled board meeting in October. At our request and discussion, some past history regarding the Chisholm Crossing Phase 2, 3, and 4, High Point SUD gave direction to their attorney to draft a letter that they will not object to transferring, releasing High Point CCN in those areas being served by RCH in the future for the city. Letter was received on Friday, September 8th, 2023. Maps are being updated by TMP and our attorney, Emily Rogers. August 31st, the mayor and I attended an event with HOA neighborhood representatives, and we're working on another round of FAQs to be posted on the website. I think they gave approval today. McLendon-Chisholm's resolution on how to address Water Supply Corporation's failures to provide adequate delivery of water and/or meet infrastructure requirements to keep up with the water demand will be presented at the next TML conference this October. And the only other update is we have 2 additional HOA related events happening in High Point Lake Estates, I believe on the 19th of September, and we need confirmation.
I think
October 2nd with High, yes, on that. I think it's going to be on October 2nd. That's it.
all right, guys. To add to that, social media is, you get a lot of information out there. I'm going to tell you a lot of it's not vetted as far as check for accuracy or correct information being posted, not knowing where the sources are. Be very careful with what you read, hear, see, unless you're able to spend a minute to investigate what's being said out there, because there's a lot of bad information. And I will be fair, there's a lot of bad information against RCH. There's bad information out there about Blackland. There's bad information out there about us as a city. I ask you to do your homework. If somebody says something, research it, because there is some statements out there that are totally uncalled for and wrong. And there are individuals out there that want to paint bad pictures of council members and of myself that were being uncooperative. And that's not true. We have explained where we stand or what we're working on, and some people just don't want to look past that. They want to look at a certain way to do it and are unwilling to look at other options as well. And as far as people out there going, well, the mayor doesn't want to meet with Mr. Naylor, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I met with him last week. Okay? Met with him on neutral ground because I thought that was only fair. Not to ask him to come here, not for him to ask me to come somewhere else. We met in a neutral area where both of us were comfortable with it. And we talked for an hour. And, he had his ideas, I had mine. And we parted there shaking hands and in good terms. And, there are some things that he needs to look at. There are some things we need to look at. I'm not telling you that it's gonna go in either direction at this point, but we had open dialogue. And there are people out there saying that I'm unwilling to talk to him now. That's never been the case. So I want to stop some of those rumors. There are people out there that want to picket my council members and call them everything under the sun but a nice person. That needs to stop. I have council members that have spent a lot of time and effort researching and working on this for us as customers that deserve water, not to be beat up by somebody that has a different idea. I'm with you. I'm just like every one of you. I pay my bills. I should be able to turn my faucet on and get my water. I will remind everybody that the RCH Water Company has called for a stage 5 drought. The state of Texas has never said they're under a drought. My stance as an individual is, how can you call a stage 5 drought when the state's not calling for a drought, when the only drought there is huge gross mismanagement of a water company that you're now punishing you and I and every other customer out there by telling us we've got to limit the use of water. That's not my fault. That's mismanagement of a company. You know, I'm not advocating for you to do anything other than don't fall under the pretense of a false flag. The only drought out there is that they've done such a poor job of managing the company they can't get Rockwall to talk to them about getting more water because they're frustrated. It's a different situation. You know, you and I deserve to be able to turn that water on, water our grass, water our foundations. If you want to take 2-hour showers, you should be allowed to. We shouldn't be considered a drought when it's mismanagement by the company. Not you, not me. So make sure you do your homework on the information that's being presented out there. And I'll go as far as even any information we put out there, do your homework. I'm not going to say we're perfect. We are trying to do the right thing. We're trying to provide you with factual information, not hearsay information, not bits and pieces where you don't have everything. Trying to give you as much facts as we can as we have them and we know that they're correct. But do the same thing when you hear it from other sources too. I think it will open your eyes. There's a lot of issues out there. I just want it solved for all of us. It's a nightmare and it's a headache. But I'm just like you, my fence is leaning. I got cracks in the yard. I don't want my grandkids to go out there and my little 2-year-old grandson put a split in a crack and break his leg. You know, I'm just like everybody else. I have my concerns over it. So know that we're working on it. It's not an overnight fix, guys. It never will be. Even interim solutions to get some more water. We're getting to the point where we're coming into the fall, where historically water use is less. We're not there yet. But even an interim solution to get more water doesn't mean it's an overnight. It's going to take weeks, months, maybe even a year for an interim solution. It's not like I make fun of. It's not a 30-minute crime drama where we leave at the end of 30 minutes and everybody's hunky-dory and the crime's been solved. It's not. It's going to take a little while. But we're working as fast as we can. So please understand that. That's all I have to say on it, guys. I don't have any updates, direction, or just anything for staff. Obviously, yesterday was 9/11. There was a lot of different celebrations going on, or I don't want to say celebration, a lot of remembrance going on for those that lost their lives on that day. A lot of remembering where we were when that happened. Please don't forget it. I read an article today by another law enforcement officer A lot of people forgetting what happened that day. A lot of people getting real comfortable. It could happen again. Something I don't ever want to see again, but it could always happen again. Let's always remember, like my great-grandfather told me, those that don't pay attention to history are doomed to repeat it. I think we've seen that with certain things that go on. The way people want to hide history or remove it so people don't know that it happened. We're doomed to repeat it if we're not careful. Brian, you got anything?
I actually spoke for the Rockwall County at the courthouse on 9/11. I have a 9/12 speech that I always give to live like it's 9/12. I'll echo that. It's because the day after 9/11, we were all Americans. It didn't matter what race you wore, what religion you wore, what sex you wore, what side of politics you were on. We were just all Americans. So I gave that my remember speech to live like it's 9/12.
Adrian, you got anything? Jennifer? Dan?
No, sir.
What?
Well, I do have a report that will be given the next session from the road consortium, so I'm looking forward to attending that meeting. Yes.
Folks, it is, hold on. It's 8:35. We've met everything on the agenda. Meeting adjourned.